The mad dash for the mother lode is on. About 600 prospectors pour into the forest looking to strike it rich.
Yeah, our main mandate is to look for gold mineralization. We already have a property in the caution, approximately 700 acres, and we'll be attempting to tie onto that property.
There's a lot at stake here. 6,000 square kilometers of what some believe is land loaded with minerals, open to staking for the first time in over 20 years. But there is more than one way to stake a claim. Some of the companies here are using track and field athletes from a Timmins high school. But the terrain is a little tougher than what they're used to.
You have to go through creeks, and you have to run on hills, and you have to jump logs and stuff, and you really can't see it all. And sometimes you do wipe out.
While the runners blaze a trail through the bush, others take to boats to stake their claims. Whatever the method, urgency is the key. The first to stake an area with 4 posts has the claim rights and potentially a future windfall. Those finishing second go home empty-handed. Smaller companies have everything to gain.
And come up with something good will get a lot of the major companies interested in the area.
In an hour, the rush is over. Months of planning end in a brief explosion of activity. Now the waiting begins. First for the claims to be verified, and then for the results of drill samples. It could take years before any of these prospectors know whether their claim strikes it rich or just strikes out. Mike Boothman, Global News, Goganda.
This team of prospectors was joined by hundreds more throughout gold-rich Terrell Township, competing for land which hasn't been available for over 20 years. Helicopters brought some men deep into the bush. Others got jet skis ready or faxed last-minute details to home office, all in preparation for 9 a.m. when the great claim rush began. Top-caliber runners were recruited to stake the claims, each running 1 mile and marking the 4 corner posts. The first man back wins the claim for himself or his company.
How do the woods compare to the track?
Quite a bit tougher. It's pretty tough running, and it gets tired really fast. Like a mile seems like a lot further than it would than on a track.
Besides the runners, some companies gained an edge using helpers, who do things like pull canoes across ponds. But under the Mining Act, those helpers are not allowed to mark posts themselves or obstruct other runners. Still, some risk it just to win.
Yeah, because one of our runners definitely lost his claim because of intimidation.
I hope that, everyone's being honest and, doing a fair job, eh? That's what we're hoping.
I think there's a few shenanigans going on. I think there'll be a lot of disputes, different companies contesting the different claims that were staked today. But on the whole, I think we did pretty good.
There was competition, but the competition were not organized enough, and they were very quickly dispersed of.
What's the key out here then?
Put in your time for a week beforehand.
This is the kind of intense pioneering spirit which opened up this part of northern Ontario 90 years ago. For some, the investment could pay off tomorrow or 10 years down the road.
We're going to option off these claims and get a good cash settlement and get them to work the claims and hopefully find a gold mine and get a good percentage out of it and become very rich.
Rich as they're not. It was
in Ontario, there's gold in them there hills. Only the miners want it all to themselves. But let me tell you about one prospector who has outmaneuvered them. He's become a hero to all those who aren't afraid to venture where the stakes are high and beat the big boys at their own game. Charles Molyneux has a story.
No, you're not watching a track meet held in a forest. It's a modern-day gold rush. And if you thought the search for genuine gold was a thing of the past, guess again. Nowadays, most gold diggers don't use a pickaxe and a shovel. They use high school track stars to stake their claim. But for prospector Carl Forbes, some things never change.
It's not that hard to find if you know how to look for it. But the only person who can look for it is a prospector.
47-year-old Carl is a local hero in the sleepy mining town of Shining Tree in northern Ontario. He calls himself the end of a long line of gold diggers.
The last prospector. The only person that would walk around and still carry my pick and my hammer, break rock, find gold, understand how to find it, know where to go to find it.
Carl is a throwback to a time when the West was still wild and thousands of gold diggers armed with a pickaxe and a dream set out to strike it rich. These dusty adventurers were true entrepreneurs. Fortune seekers who spent their lives pursuing that ever-elusive nugget of gold. With his pick and hammer, Carl prides himself in looking for gold the old-fashioned way, scouring the Canadian outback himself and smashing open whatever rock he sees. The self-employed mining mogul says he consistently beats out the larger mining companies in the search for gold, thanks to his years of experience in the wilderness.
Prospector's got to be a geologist, an engineer, a surveyor, a promoter, a bit of a liar sometimes, and a person with ingenuity.
Mr. Carl Forbes is one of the true believers of the Shining Tree Camp here. He's been here over 20 years, and now things are looking real good for him.
Mike Barrett is a claim staker for Carl Forbes. Last month, Carl and his team of locals took on the major mining companies in one of the biggest gold rushes in history. More than 2,000 square miles of mountainous terrain was put up for grabs by the Canadian government. The land, a former Indian territory, is believed to be rich in gold. More than 600 prospectors, from big mining companies to independent speculators, converged on the region.
It's very exciting. There's a lot of people out here, a lot of competition.
To claim land, prospectors had to stake out their desired property with wooden posts. Then, on the day of the great rush, they had to race against the clock, sprinting from post to post, claiming their desired plots. With 600 prospectors going for the gold, helicopters, boats, and cars were used to ferry professional runners from one post to the next, all in a mad dash to be the first to claim the best plots. Some companies hired local high school athletes to run from post to post for $1,000 a day.
Basically, I ran cross country and track in school, and I got called up by a buddy to see if I wanted to whip around the woods as fast as I can for a claim. So it sounded like fun, so I went for it.
Ron Balek manned the water routes for Carl's team.
I was the boat driver to take the runners from when they came off on a claim post, and to go to the next claim post, I'd zing them across the water, and if need be, if we couldn't get through by the rocks in the water, I'd jump in the water and I'd push the boat to the shore.
Balek says Carl Forbes did his homework.
Our approach was probably like great superior planning from Mr. Forbes. You know, a lot of detail work went into it, a lot of planning. He's been working on this for years, and within the last 2 weeks, I mean, he was just up day and night, every day, every night, going over game plans, setting us out in the bush.
With all the preparation and planning, it didn't take long for the land to get gobbled up.
With everything was just moving so fast, it was all over in a matter of minutes.
Carl Forbes went after and won 50 claims of land, 400 square yards apiece. Although some of the larger companies secured up to 200 plots of land, Carl is declaring victory.
The rush has been over and done with. The major mining companies got beat out by a junior mining company, and the junior mining company is run by a prospector, a guy that carries a pick and a rock hammer.
Only time will tell whose land will yield gold, Carl's or his competitors.
He's one of the last true prospectors. He actually drills his property, and there's work on him, and he is looking for gold mines, and we're real close now.
Carl, like the prospectors of old, knows the search for gold isn't just a business venture, it's a lifetime of adventure.
Remember the golden rule. Who's ever got the gold makes the rules.